Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our February 6th, 2025 Parent Involvement Committee live stream. Just for clarification, because this question comes up regularly afterwards, this is a meeting of the Parent Involvement Committee at the central level, and we are broadcasting this meeting to all parents across Halton District School Board. So on behalf of myself, Saad Jumin, and our co-chair, my co-chair, Sherry White, we'd like to welcome everyone to this particular meeting. To start tonight, we'll always start with the land acknowledgement, and I will go ahead and give our land acknowledgement. We begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which HDSB is situated is on the ancestral treaty and tidal lands of the Anishinaabeg, Ojibwe, Michi-Zagig Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Michi-Zagig territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties, and responsibilities, and Indigenous rights, while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land. So we'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. Our first item on our agenda tonight is a board budget presentation presented by Superintendent Roxana. Superintendent Roxana, over to you.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me this evening. I think Suzanne is going to help me navigate the presentation. Just going to give her 1 second. All right, so we'll just go to the next page just to give you a quick overview. We wanted to start our budget development process a bit early this year so that we can lay the foundation work to provide background on our funding, how we spend the money, what are the priorities, challenges, the landscape for planning for next year, so that we can get meaningful input into our decision-making process. As a result, we have the budget input page on our website, and the survey is currently open until February the 9th. So we wanted to make sure that we get to the various groups before the survey closes so that you have an opportunity to get some background information. If you have questions or we can have a discussion at the end of the presentation. So you have the information that you need in order to provide fulsome responses to our survey, and we look forward to see what comes back at the end of this period. So from a presentation, I'm going to take the next 10 or 15 minutes just to walk you through some slides and give you some background information. If you have questions throughout, please feel free to ask the questions, and then at the end, we'll stop and pause and have some questions and discussion. So I'll walk you through what our budget development process looks like. What is the provincial landscape? What does that mean for our board in particular? I will walk you through how we're funded and how we spend the money, so the budget components, as well as what's the tone and the plan for the 2025-2026 budget year. So next, please. So the budget development process takes into account a number of objectives. First of all, we have limited resources, and we are aligning them the best we can in order to support our students and staff in the school communities, so that we're supporting the initiatives and the commitments under the multi-year strategic plan. I'm sure you're aware that the HDSB has a new multi-year strategic plan for 2024 to 2028, and there's 6 strategic priorities under that plan. In order to support that plan, in addition to alignment of resources, whether it's human resources or learning materials, technology, and other funds, We are aligning them through an action plan where we identify the operational plan to support the strategies. There's a capital plan, special education plan, and then we are also looking at our key risks. So what are our strategic risks that impact our ability to achieve our objectives? That part we are working, obviously, that's more of a private session with the Board of Trustees and the Audit Committee and the senior team. But it is part, I just want you to know, that we take into account risk management, the threats and the opportunities that we face when we determine how we allocate our resources. The education sector, as you know, has a lot of accountability and transparency measures, as well as regulatory compliance that we have to abide when we develop a budget. So there's a lot of factors that we need to take into account, such as funds that are enveloped or have to be spent in a certain way, as well as we have staffing ratios and employment terms and conditions to take into account. Next, please. If you're following the budget process, we do have all this information on our website, on our public website under budget and financial information. And as these dates come due and there is a presentation or a report, we will be posting it on that website so you can follow along. Essentially, the senior team starts the budget process in the fall of the year before we are the one that we're planning for. So in this case, the fall of 2024 was the start of the budget process for 2025, 2026. And we are usually in December, the December meeting, we are identifying the timelines and the direction of the budget. Whatever information we have, the education consultation guide is usually released by the ministry before that time. So we have a little bit of information and direction in terms of what are the key priorities of the ministry for the following year at that time. Following that, the following couple of months, we do the public consultation. We have a number of sessions. So we meet with our union leaders, with our staff, various groups of staff. We meet with yourselves, PIC. Other bodies that are providing input is the Special Education Advisory Committee. We have a public survey as well that is, as I mentioned, currently open until February the 9th. All of those results and feedback that we receive is disseminated carefully and will be presented at the March 4th board meeting. Between February and, February and April, we have various workshops, budget workshops or working meetings with the Board of Trustees and the senior team. In May, typically we have a draft budget to present to the board, and in June, a final budget report that gets approved. Next. So I've already mentioned a little bit about our stakeholder feedback process. As you can see it here, so I'm not going to go through it again. So we will be continuing our work, and I just wanted to provide a couple of websites. Here is the website where we will have all the information and the reports, as well as the budget input website are linked in the slide. Next, please. So what is the provincial perspective? As we know, there is a provincial election now, so we have to wait and see on February the 27th if we are going to have the same government in office again, in which case things will start moving a little faster. So usually within 2 weeks, the government can be back in session and make decisions, which is important for the timelines of releasing the provincial as well as the education sector funding for the following year. If it is a new government, that will take about 4 to 6 weeks, I would say, for them to get up to speed and be able to start making decisions. So that will delay a little bit the timeline. Education is the second component of the provincial budget, and it's only following health, which is the highest or the largest component. And it is usually around $30 billion. It's divided between, the largest component is called core education funding. And then there are one-time or on an annual basis, there's some priority funded initiatives, and they're under the name of responsive education programs, or REPs. So the current government, if they are back in the office, we don't know, the results of the election, but the direction before the writ dropped and before, no decisions are made as they're in caretaker mode. This particular government, in their last economic outlook, were planning to eliminate the provincial deficit, and that has been their plan all along through the two mandates. Currently, provincially, there is a 6.6 billion deficit, and they plan to eliminate it by 26-27. So that means that we have to absorb all that as our province grows, the economy grows, the inflation implications in terms of cost impacts and challenges for businesses or contractual obligations that we have for goods and services. All of those are impacting and expected to go up. However, the provincial budget will be going down almost $7 billion. So we don't know exactly what that means for the education sector, but we don't expect additional funding. So we have to focus on containing our costs and have a very conservative approach to the budget planning. Next, please. So this provincial perspective is a little bit more for the education sector provincially, as opposed to, the provincial government. So from an education funding perspective, just provincially, we have a few key challenges that we, the Halton District School Board, as well as other school boards in Ontario, face. The funding formula does not keep up with inflation and market cost pressures that we have, and we've seen over the years. Some of the elements in the funding formula haven't been updated since 2008 for areas such as learning materials and technology and some of those aspects. And some of them have been receiving 2% some years nothing. So there's a bit of a discrepancy between funding and keeping up with inflation. In addition, on the salary side of the funding allocation, the sick leave provisions are negotiated provincially. And the costs have been increasing. However, the funding model hasn't changed since that new plan has been in place over the last few years. So it's causing a pressure point for school boards. Federally, there have been, over the last 5 years, enhancements made to the CPP and EI contributions, in particular the CPP contribution, where it increased by 1%. And you see that reflected, from an employee standpoint, but the employer has to contribute the same share. So our costs have increased by 1%. There was no reflecting funding adjustment to offset this cost. The special education model is an older model, is based on some dated information. It hasn't kept up with the increase in student needs in the special needs for students. So that's always been an area for our board that has been a challenge, and it's a challenge provincially as well. There is a new transportation formula, and as well, this one in particular resulted in lost funding for the HDSB. As well, there's other areas that are not funded to what we see in practice and where we see the increases in needs, and that includes student and staff mental health and well-being, and temporary accommodations where we have areas of growth and we have to put portables on site to manage the increase in student enrollment in those areas. Next, please. So from a board perspective, enrollment is the main driver of our funding. Is not the only driver, but it is the main driver. And the Halton region has been a region of growth. And there's still, as you can see, there's still new development and new neighborhoods coming online and new families moving in. But there are fewer families with school-age children that are moving into the region compared to those students that are aging out of our schools, that they're graduating grade 12. So we see fewer students coming into the system and larger number of students graduating. Some of that is also as a result of being able to work remotely. So families with younger children have moved outside of the region, perhaps also because of affordability. But we have seen rural school boards with an increase in enrollment in the last few years since the pandemic, and urban school boards losing students. So we are looking at an enrollment decline, which means less funding overall. The interest rates are continuing to decline. And while personally we are looking at that as a benefit, for us as a school board, it is also one of the very few other sources of revenue that help us complement our budget and resources for students. So we have, whenever we have a cash balance, we're able to earn interest revenue that can be used to support students in the classroom. So lower interest rates means less revenue. Although we overall are declining in enrollment, we have pockets of growth. So we continue to build schools in Northeast Oakville and Southeast Milton. The budget itself for the current year has a deficit, is a deficit budget of 1.8 million, which was approved both by the Board of Trustees as well as the Minister of Education. And it's for one-time items that we wanted to supplement from our accumulated surplus so that we don't have to make additional reductions to our overall budget. Next, please. So the key components for the budget is enrollment as the key driver. And I'll walk you through some enrollment trends, and then I'll walk you through a little bit on how we get funded. There's a little bit of change in terminology. Some of you may be well familiar with this. For some of you, this might be some new information. And then I'll walk you through how we spend the money. So on the next slide, this is just giving you the table of the projection for enrollment for next year, 25-26, compared to our revised estimates of the current year, as well as our original budget. The original budget was approved in June of 2024, whereas the revised budget has October 31st count dates of students in our schools in the classroom. So it gives us a better number for enrollment projections. And that's sort of the number where we're comparing. So we're looking at over 500 students lower in elementary and over 700 in secondary. Although we're seeing an increase in international students, we are seeing a decrease in both panels for next year. The next two slides, we'll go through them quickly. It's just this one is showing you the history from 2018-19 to current and the projection for the next 4 years to 2028, 2029. So it's a 10-year span on both. This is the elementary slide. The next one is the secondary slide. So you can see how we're going down for the next 3 years in elementary panel before we're starting to go up. And for secondary, we're sort of going down over the next few years, and it's a bit more of a significant decline as larger classes are graduating and smaller classes are coming in between. The grade 9 class coming in is a lot smaller than the grade 12 class graduating. Next, please. So for revenue as well as for expenses, we have two depictions. One is a pie chart, a bit of a visual. I'll leave this with you and I'll just go to the next slide. The other one is a little bit of a breakdown of those categories. We have to report on the revenue and expenses based on ministry categories that are established for us. And that's what you see in those pie charts and the naming convention, which is used the same across all school boards in Ontario. So how are we funded? About 86% is from the Ministry of Education. That comes through the province of Ontario, and is through the core education funding, or core ed. That's the new term. You might be familiar with the Grants for Student Needs, or the GSN, which was a term that we've used for many, many years. However, the funding formula has been repackaged, and the allocations have been consolidated a little bit. Although the formula feeding those allocations, so there's 6 allocations instead of 18, but all the components are still the same in the background. So they haven't really changed the funding formula. They have changed its presentation to make it simpler to understand to the reader, and changed it to the name of core education funding. So how that gets calculated is based on the formula, which is dependent on mainly enrollment, but other areas such as socioeconomic factors, the number of schools, the condition of schools, how large they are, as well as statistical models for students with special needs, and so forth. All of that determines the level that Halton District School Board should receive in terms of funding. And that gets collected in 2 ways. One, it gets collected from the municipalities collect the education levy, which is set by the Ministry of Education, and then you see it on your property taxes. And the municipalities collect them from property and business owners, and submit them to our school board. And then the ministry flows through the balance of whatever the core education funding formula determined for the board. So they top us up to that calculated amount. Other provincial grants are those responsive education programs, as I mentioned. Those are 1 year at a time, and they're based on priorities for the government, or for the ministry, I should say, for that year. They're very specific on how you can spend them. School-generated funds. These are at the school level. They're fundraising. They're based on fundraising money. There are, as you know, different accounts at each school level, bank accounts, and we consolidate them in our financial statements. Other revenues include other forms of government funding, including both federal and other provincial government, such as the Skills for Trade for adult learners. There's some other ones, the language ESL for newcomers, investment income, as well as international student tuition fees, rental income for our facilities, education development charges. That is a levy that is imposed on new development and is only able to be used to purchase sites for new schools that are required in growth areas, in new neighborhoods. And then amortization of deferred capital contribution is a form of revenue that covers our non-cash expense of amortizing our assets, such as our school buildings. Next, please. So I don't know if there's any questions up to this point and how we get funded, maybe, before I go into how we spend the money. Okay, I'll keep going, but feel free to let me know if there's questions. Same thing with expenses, the pie chart, and the next one, Suzanne, is categories that are a little bit broken down to give you an idea of how we spend the money and what each ministry category that we report on includes. So overall, as you can see, we spent pretty much, other than the administration, 2.2%. We spend the rest of it, almost 98% of our funding, on student learning directly and indirectly. And what I mean by that, directly on instruction is that instruction category of 73% and change. Indirectly, and that's the staffing that are in the schools with the students, as well as what we need in order to provide support to the students, learning resources, technology, and so forth, and other program costs. Student transportation is 2.3%, so we have to get the students to school so they can learn. So that's an indirect cost to instruction. Pupil accommodation is mainly the operations and maintenance of schools and school grounds, as well as some renewal costs in maintaining our buildings. I should say our school buildings. So again, that pupil accommodation is the cost of maintaining our learning environments for students, another indirect cost to student learning. In the other expenses, a lot of that is the cost associated with the very specific responsive education programs, which are typically tailored instructions, such as there's a particular special education program that they want, early reading, math, things like that, that they are investing some additional funding into in order to support with the new initiative that has to be implemented. School generated funds as well is part of this other expense and separately accounted for. So a lot of those, well, even the permanent financing for that is for costs incurred in additions and building of new schools. So the administration pocket, which is just over 2%, includes a lot of areas that support the entire system. They include, not just finance and HR and IT, but it includes school operations and research and development, which works closely with our schools to help us have data-informed decisions, communications, which works with all the schools on the communication strategies and websites and just that consistent messaging. Also, we have some significant licensing costs for software for financial system, for HR system, payroll system. All of those are part of this administration. Legal costs for the entire school board are part of the administration, as well as maintaining the corporate office and the grounds and the utilities around that. Next, please. So in terms of the 25-26 budget, we're looking at balancing the budget, which is a requirement, a regulatory requirement. And if we cannot balance the budget next year, we are required to get approval from the Minister of Education again. In order to do that, the planning approach for the budget is a cautious approach where we're trying to contain costs. So we're first looking for additional efficiencies and areas where we can allocate existing funds to priorities for next year, as opposed to looking at adding to the budget, because we don't foresee the ability to add a lot. We would have to take it from somewhere else. So that's the approach to the budget next year. We're hopeful that we don't have to make significant cuts, but more of a looking at efficiencies that we can, or duplication of services we might need to look at, and things like that, where we can reallocate existing funds. Next, please. Just some key dates for next steps. The budget discussions, if you're following along, will be, the next one is February 18th with the Board of Trustees of the Committee of the Whole, and then April 22nd. SEAC is April 23rd, and all of that information, including the survey results from stakeholder consultation, will be used in order to determine the draft budget, which will be at the end of May. And I think that's it. If you go to the next one, I think that's pretty much the end of the information I wanted to share with you. And we do have a little bit of time to go through questions, or, I do urge you to take this back to your schools if you want to submit a group or separate submissions for our budget survey. But also what we're looking at is, what are the priorities? What priorities do you see for next school year? What are some areas of challenges? And, how do you see us looking at using existing budget to support priorities? So I'll open it up. I don't know, Tara, if you want to just open it up for questions, or the chair. Questions, discussion, thoughts. I'm happy, to take it back in whatever form you're offering.
That's wonderful. Saad and Shari, what are you thinking? Should we open up just for questions now? And then, of course, if there's follow-up questions, perhaps they can direct those questions to Saad and Shari, and they can reach back with you as well. So maybe we can see if there's any questions amongst the group.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think the only thing that I guess is on my mind is because the ministry's parent involvement committee meeting was scheduled for the 26th of this month, but of course they did postpone that because of the upcoming election. So I guess the big question would be is how much of this would change if the current government is no longer the current government at the end of the month, because I don't know if they would use the existing budgets that they have in place, or does that mean that the new Minister of Education gets to scramble all this up again?
Oh, that's a great question. So we, if it is the same, as I mentioned, the same government coming in place, I think the turnaround to provide the provincial budget as well the education funding will be within the timelines we expect. And we don't expect additional funding. We don't expect a lot of changes. However, there will be areas that could be tweaked or eliminated. So we need to take that into account. If it's a different government, it's hard to say. It would take them some time to understand what are the needs of the system. So I don't know that we could expect a lot of additional funding before they really understand the landscape and what the needs are. So I would think the following year would be a little bit of, let's start here where we're supposed to, or where it's been with the Treasury Board, and that's sort of what we have as a starting point. And perhaps if we can have some investments through the year, and then you would get a better idea of what the focus of a new government would be for the second year of their term. So we don't know. That's why we're cautious as we move into next year. We expect that what we see in terms of declining enrollment for urban boards will continue. If we get more students, great. We get more funding. We're able to add more staff. If we don't, at least that's the base that we're building it based on. We're not planning to make additions. I don't think we can afford them. We have to be financially responsible and really focus how we spend the current funding that we have in better supporting the student needs that we see and some of the, whether it's learning gaps or special education needs or other programming or well-being supports for students.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? I don't see anything in the chat.
So what we can do, Sherry, is we can gather any questions that come in and direct it accordingly.
Absolutely, that sounds great.
Okay. Thank you so much, Superintendent Roxana. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, coming up next on our agenda, we're super excited to have Mark Clare who's the CEO of the Halton Learning Foundation, join us for a presentation on behalf of HLF, the Halton Learning Foundation. Mark, over to you.
Thank you so much, Saad and Sherry, for inviting me, and Tara for inviting me to come join you today. I do have some slides of my own. If I'm able to share the screen, that would be fantastic. Thank you. All right, just give me a moment here. All right. Can somebody confirm they can see my shared screen here? I can't see you, so if you could voice out,
Yep.
that would be awesome. Okay, thank you.
All good to go.
Thank you. All right, so I have a question for folks, and I can't really see you, so I'll envision you've raised your hand. So, how many of you think that education is important? I'm going to say probably all of you. I hope all of you, because education is so important. And that's why people are involved in school councils and are involved in PIC, because and are part of the education system, because it is important, right? People with good levels of education statistically earn better, and we know that. We've heard those stats before. But research also says that people who have good education are less likely to be involved in criminal activity. They are typically healthier. They typically live longer, and they give back to their community. They're volunteering, they're donating, they're giving back. And so, good education helps people to become better citizens. And that's why we're here, right? And Halton Learning Foundation's role in all of this is that we are helping HDSB students who might have financial barriers to learning success, and so that's our role in this situation. I want to tell you a story about a beautiful pink winter coat. I received an email in December from a teacher at a secondary school in Oakville. And this teacher happens to teach students who have special needs. And he shared with me that one of his students, she was coming to school. And if you remember, in December, it was getting cold. It was starting to get really cold. And she was coming to school with a coat that was not keeping her warm. It was too small. It was ripped. The zipper didn't work. And so, this teacher applied to the Halton Learning Foundation, and we happily provided a Walmart gift card to the family, so the family could go and buy a beautiful pink winter coat. And he said, the student came to school. She was warm. And she was so proud to wear this beautiful pink winter coat. And, for me, that really resonated, in that, this beautiful pink winter coat represented, a student being cared for, a student being included, basic needs of a student being met, and helped her feel proud and want to come to school. So that's what we're all about, and we need, I got to thinking that we need more beautiful pink coat moments where kids are feeling included and basic needs are being met. And so that's just one small example of the types of things that we are assisting with. We are really wanting to, help students. And the reality is that poverty remains a powerful factor in whether a student succeeds in school. And, helping youth to reach their full potential, that's what HLF is doing. We're helping them overcome financial barriers that are getting in the way of their learning. Donors to the Halton Learning Foundation help us to accomplish that. And we help, we try to help students to do well, students that are having these financial challenges, so that they can have the opportunity and equity and confidence, having people around them that they love and who love them, building positive connections, with people who might be teachers or coaches or mentors or role models, building strong connections with family and friends, helping them build resilience, help them, with decision making, helping them, helping them with, building positive relationships. And so, that's what we're all about. That those kinds of experiences and attributes and positive outcomes, they become a lot more challenging when you have barriers to education, financial barriers to learning, and those barriers are maybe more common than you think, right? Research tells us that again, like I said, with good education, people are able to give back to their community. So that's what we're trying to help out with. Okay, so what do? So we help raise funds. To help eliminate these financial barriers for HDSP students at the elementary and secondary level, and we do that in 3 program areas. Our financial support for students in need, so that's our Eliminating Barriers program. So think, basic necessities. Think of things that will get a student to school and engage in learning. Those are the types of things we're helping out with. The school grants, and so some of you, as people who are involved in your school council, may have been involved in applying for a school grant to the Halton Learning Foundation. So we have a granting period in the fall. And this year we provided grants for up to $1,200 for a project or initiative that is not funded through the school board or through the ministry. And we have 4 areas that align with the school board's multi-year strategic plan. So mental health, equity, inclusion, Indigenous awareness, and then learning and achievement. And those were approved in December, and schools are starting to implement those projects and initiatives. And then the third area that we help out students is our scholarships and bursaries. And so last year we offered over 70 scholarships and bursaries, amounting to about $200,000 in value. And those will be opening up again, I believe, next week. And so check back in for those if you have students that are graduating grade 12, and how those are funded. We have people from the community, donors from the community might come to us and say, hey, I'd like to start a scholarship. And maybe it's a scholarship for a particular area. Maybe it's a scholarship for at a particular school. Sometimes, unfortunately, there is a situation where it's to honor a loved one who's passed away. And we actually just started a new one. And Sherry brought this asked me to mention this. It was a young student, Adam Melky, from Halton District, who unfortunately passed away due to a car accident early in December, only 17 years old. Obviously the family is grieving significantly, but wanted to honor his memory, and so have started an Adam Melky Memorial Scholarships, and that's so we're helping the family with that scholarship process. And so there are some donations already coming in for that, and Sherry says that they'd like will be more donations coming in. And so there's 3 awards for that particular one of $1,000 each for this year, and 3 different awards. So just to give you a sense of some of the scholarships that we're helping to facilitate. More specifically regarding our Eliminating Barriers program, these are some of the things that we help. And so really the process is that a school, a teacher, guidance council, principal will identify a student or a family in need within the Halton District School Board, and then they can apply to the Halton Learning Foundation for financial assistance. And typically that's in the form of a grocery gift card, so that that family can take that grocery gift card to. So we typically we'll use Walmart. So they can take that, and they have that dignity of being able to choose the food that's suitable for their family, or choosing the clothing that's suitable for their family, or the school supplies. We had one parent who told me that his 2 children had a vitamin deficiency. So being able to, select, vitamins from the store was a huge benefit to him. And so the cards are up to $250 for the first application, and then subsequent applications are $150. And again, usually electronic gift cards, so that allows us to get that to the families quickly. For those schools that are in Acton, we do have physical cards for Giant Tiger. And so that seems to have been well received, and they're being kept at a depot school at Halton District. So when an application is approved for a physical giant tiger card in Acton, then we notify the school, and the family can pick it up from the school. So the demand for our help is increasing. If you've read the news or watched the news, you hear that things are going up. People are being challenged, and so last school year we helped over 3,000 students, up from 2,000 the year before, and already this school year we're at 2,086 students, and actually as of today we're over the 2,100 threshold. And so that's more than we helped 2 years ago. And so, we rely on the generosity of the community, to help fund these needs, to help fund these and pay for these beautiful pink coats that students are receiving. Often we see, different family situations, maybe a single parent home or newcomers, or maybe it's a health crisis. Maybe somebody gets a health diagnosis that's significant. They can't work. Their spouse is looking after them. Sometimes there's a death in the family, job loss, intimate partner violence. Sometimes we get situations where students are couch surfing. High school students, and they're couch surfing. For some reason, their household situation is broken down, and they're sleeping on the couches of friends each night. So often we get asked, how are we funded? Well, those beautiful pink coats that we're helping with, those are entirely funded through the generosity of the community, through the donations in the community. We don't receive any funding through the ministry or through the school board. We receive all sorts of wonderful support through the school board in kind. So, for example, our office is located at JWS. All sorts of great support in being able to attend things like this. Director Ennis and Associate Director Salmini, we meet with them quarterly. Senior team and the trustees are really supportive. The schools have been really supportive in helping to create awareness and help with fundraising. And so, but we rely on corporations, service clubs, community foundations, individuals, parents, and staff. Sometimes they're third-party fundraisers. We had a yoga in the park event that happened in September from one of our longtime friends of the foundation. Sometimes we have lemonade stands. Students are doing that kind of thing. So that's all really, really wonderful. So I'm here to ask you to join us for HLF month. So last year, the school board designated April as HLF month, and that's happening again this year. And so we are inviting school communities to do some sort of fundraising initiative to support HLF. You choose the activity, you choose the timing of it, that would be super fantastic. Last year we had about 30 groups get involved, which is amazing. CN Rail came on as our sponsor for that, which included a $25,000 match. We're still waiting to hear back from them for this year. Some schools did things like, bake sales. There was, dances. There was rock, paper, scissors tournaments. There was I think there was a student versus staff basketball game. So there's all sorts of fun things that people were doing. Director Ennis decided to do some fundraising for a 4-square challenge, the classic playground game. He invited the superintendents and the trustees, and I was there to see how this was going to happen, and it was a blast. I decided to do a bike ride, so I like to ride my bicycle. So I did a tour to Halton, and I had a couple friends come with me, and then we had a support vehicle. But I started up in Acton at Mackenzie Smith Bennett. Went to Georgetown, Milton, Oakville, and Burlington. Stopped at 12 schools. I gave the principals a heads up ahead of time, saying, "Hey, I'm going to come by as part of this bike ride. If you happen to be around, come on outside and say hi. I'd love to get a selfie." And so that was fantastic. Had great response on that side of things. A couple of the schools actually had their whole school population out. It was amazing. I was walking through these crowds of kids, giving kids high fives. I felt like a rock star. I needed a bigger helmet by the time I got out because my ego was so big. But it was amazing. And the ride took a lot longer than I thought. 115 kilometers altogether, but it was well worth it. And so those are some examples of things that people have done. And so we're inviting you. You and your school communities to get involved. Join us in supporting students with financial barriers to learning. Help them to have the opportunity for hope and dignity and equity, which will help them to reach their full potential in school and in life. And so I hope that you'll join us for that. More information will be coming. We're working on all of that stuff. Other ways to help HLF. If you become aware of a family that may need some financial assistance, the process would be for them to approach somebody at their school, somebody they maybe they have a connection with or trust. Maybe it's the principal or vice principal, guidance counselor, social worker, teacher. Any of those would be fantastic. And then they can, the school will see if they can submit an application on behalf of that student or that family. We need your help spreading the word. Our strategic plan, basically the top 3 things for a strat plan is help more students, create more awareness, raise the funds to meet that need. And so on the helping more student side of things, we're doing a pretty good job. We're not really worried about reaching that goal. The awareness is super important. We need your help to help create some more awareness with parents in the community. There's a lot of parents that are very aware of us, but there's a lot of parents that are not. And when, they hear about us for the first time, I've been a parent on the school board for, 10 years and I've never heard of you. And so we need your help to help create some awareness with those parents. That would be super fantastic. And then, and like I said, we rely on the generosity of the community, one-time donations, a lot of people doing monthly donations. And so that would be really fantastic if you could help with that. If you work for an employer who likes to support local charities, we would love to chat with you. And again, we need your help to spread the word to other parents. That would be super fantastic. A couple things of note that are happening. So as part of HLF month, we have a special event that we did last year as well called Students in the Spotlight. And so this is an opportunity for students to submit a video audition, something they can perform on a stage. Maybe it's singing or dancing or playing an instrument. And they can submit a video audition. We have some people who are part of an audition committee who will view the videos, and then we'll make a selection to choose some students to perform live on stage on April 30th. And that'll be at Burlington Central High School, and they have a lovely theater there. And so the process is for students to register. And so, you can go to our website and students can register. And then once they register, we'll provide a link for them to upload the video. Okay. And at some point, if they get chosen, then we'll need your permission for them to participate. But that's a little bit later. And then the other thing I want to highlight for you is that we do have our annual meeting. So our fiscal year is the same as the school board's, August 31st. And we have our annual general meeting on February 20th at Siemens Canada in hopefully they have a lovely room there. One of our board members works for Siemens Canada, and so they've arranged to make use of that room and are providing some light refreshments there. And so basically from 4:30 to 5 will be just sort of a reception time, time for refreshments. From 5 to 6 will be the meeting. President of Siemens Canada, Faisal Kazi, is going to be speaking. We have Principal Andrea Gill from Montclair is going to be speaking as well, and so we're very much looking for her to share some of the stories that they have the support of Montclair students. And then 6 to 6:30 is a little bit of a just sort of a general mix and mingle thing as well. So if that's something of interest, again, go to our website and you can RSVP for that. If you want to connect, here's my contact information. If you miss it, feel free to reach out to Saad or Sherry or Tara, and they'll be happy to provide that information to you. So, just a reminder that we want to see more beautiful pink coat moments where kids are feeling included, they're feeling cared for, their basic necessities are being met, and they're feeling proud. And we need your help to do that. We need the community's help so we can continue to say yes to helping students in need. Like I said, beautiful pink coats like this are entirely reliant on donations from the community. So we need your help, and we would appreciate if you would help us out. Okay, thank you so much. And I'm going to stop sharing. And
Thank you, Mark.
To take any questions that people have.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great presentation. We'll hold here for any questions that might come in. If somebody can keep an eye on the chat. And this is so important, this particular presentation, because the awareness piece for our thousands and thousands of families, being aware of HLF is so crucial.
Yeah, thank you, Saad. And a little bit of history, I guess, is that we've been around for 20 years. We were formed by the school board initially, but we are independent from the school board. Our sole purpose is to support HDSB students. That's our only mandate, is to help students within the HDSB. So,
okay, great. I don't see any messages in the chat. Mark, if any messages come in, as happens with a lot of our live streams, we'll collect them and pass it on to you, and sort of send that out to the community.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. And happy to have conversations with people or answer email questions. Not a problem at all. And thank you. I appreciate the offer to join you, and appreciate the time on your agenda.
Great.
Are we going to see you on Saturday?
I'm going to be there on Saturday. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, for sure. This is my third year I've been there. I've been involved in this role for almost 2 years. In my first week, I had the pleasure of being at the PIC conference, the Saturday of my first week. So I'm very much looking forward to it. That's
wonderful. And can parents, if they do have some spare change with them, will they be able to give donations to you on Saturday?
They certainly could if they'd like to. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great.
Yeah, great. Thanks, folks. Have a good meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Sherry, over to you for the next agenda item.
Okay. Did everybody receive the email with the minutes from the last meeting? I don't. Oh. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. I can't even get my camera to go back on, but Laura, Jen, do you guys have were there any errors or omissions, or everything looks good? Okay, then we can, now I don't know if is that a live link for, if anybody needs a copy of the minutes, or is that just for us?
Sherry, this is Suzanne. Yes, it is a live link, and it's also posted on our website.
Okay, wonderful.
As it's passed. So after this meeting, it will be posted on our website.
Okay, that's great. And the next on the agenda, well, obviously our PIC committee update is our conference is on Saturday. Yay! And whoops. So, and actually this is where I'm going to turn the floor over to Laura, who is one of our co-chairs for the PIC conference. Sorry, I just heard the ping of a hand. So, Laura, would you like to?
Sure. Thanks, Sherry. And I think the ping was a comment in the chat. So thanks, everyone. We're super excited for the conference on Saturday. There's been a committee of us working hard and meeting weekly for the past number of months to put it together, and we're really excited about it. The conference is going to be fantastic. We have over 600 people registered to attend from across the school board, and we're going to be starting with a keynote presentation from Dr. Russell and then moving into 3 workshop sessions. And we've been really honored and appreciate all of the feedback and the support we've gotten from across the school board and the community for workshops and community tables. We have over 20 community tables of people who are going to be there sharing information and resources to the parents and guardians in attendance, and over 30, I think we're at 31 or 32 workshops over the 3 sessions on a really wide range of topics. This year, we've also, for people who registered ahead of time, we were able to offer childminding and transportation from different parts of the board, just to hopefully make the conference more accessible to different people from all different areas of all different geographic areas. So really looking forward to it. Hope to see lots of you there on Saturday, and it'll be a great day, I think, of connecting and learning together.
And over to me, Sharon. I'll jump in for sure. So I knew we were going to have some wonderful presentations tonight, and obviously a tremendous highlight for our PIC conference as well. So my comments are quite brief in mindfulness of, again, what a full agenda we would have. A couple of things just to highlight, I think. One piece, and it really speaks to the presentation that Superintendent Nagoy shared with us a little earlier today, was really the interest to make sure that parents, when they have the opportunity, are really providing their voice to be able to guide and direct the actions of the board. It's so critical that from a parent's perspective, the board is hearing what the priorities are, what the things are that you see that are valuable and really critical in the way that we support and serve students, including your own child, and within your school community, what those needs look like. So I would just really encourage and support folks to really lend your voice. When I think about the extensive work around our multi-year strategic plan and so many of the pieces that we do, the interest and call to get parents to really provide, inform, and direct the work as a school system is so valued and so important. There was another item as well, in addition to the budget, that was shared directly with school councils. Just trying to check the date on it. It was around about 2 weeks ago or so. And that was a communique that went to school councils, again, requesting from school councils feedback on the school dress code policy and code of conduct. Again, these are kind of all things that are part of every school community in terms of how students experience school and what their the expectations are around how our students behave and what the feeling and experience of school is like, both at the elementary and secondary level. And so that information, again, from school councils was requested to have some feedback from each school council by February 14th. So just 2 things to put on your radar as parents and as school council members and as PIC representatives. A really great opportunity to, again, remind parents of how they can be engaged, not only within their own school community and beyond. And then the very last thing is, I'm just so thrilled, super excited, and can't wait for Saturday. As Laura alluded to, and I know many people around this room, there has been lots of heavy lifting to make the wonderful work really come together on Saturday for hundreds and hundreds of our parents across the region. So just super thrilled and excited, looking forward to seeing everyone, and I know we're all really excited to see it all come together and be a tremendous event. So just wanted to highlight that, and also share just tremendous appreciation for all the effort, energy, and work of the folks that have been leading this work on behalf of all parents across the region.
Sorry, I was on mute. So now we have our trustee for our trustee updates. Trustee Zhang.
Hi. Hi. Hello, everyone. Today, we hear that the Superintendent Negoi introduced lots of details about the budgeting process and the timeline. The budget is one of the several top priorities in the school board operation. It affects every HDSB family members. We like to listen to your opinions about this year's budget. And the HDSB held an information session about the budget on January 20th. The recording can be found on the HDSB 2025-2026 budget input page. The page provides information about school board funding model and how the resources are allocated. On the same page, you can find a link to the public input survey. The survey will be open till February 9th at 4 p.m. So this is 4 p.m. In the afternoon. That's just the coming Sunday. Okay, that's the first update. The second one is this month is also every year we have the student trustee election in February. We can say it is never too young for students to participate in a decision-making process. The more participation, the more leadership when they grow up. We encourage students to speak to reach out to the students, candidates, knowing their priorities they are planning to bring to the board table. Every student can enjoy observing the democracy in the student trustee election. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that update. And yep, I guess if there aren't any other questions or anything to bring up, then our next meeting is in April, but I'm hoping that we will see everybody who's here. And of course, people that are watching this on stream will be seeing us on Saturday at Elsie McGill. And we are looking forward to it. My information is there as well as Sod's in case anybody does have any questions or things that come back from their parent councils regarding, of course, any of the budget or if you want to put together a fundraiser or things like that and need more clarification from Halton Learning Foundation. And yeah, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be here tonight. And for most of the committee, we will see you tomorrow at setup and see you on Saturday.